who is in San Diego, right?
San Diego.
Yeah. I think it just started recording, so I'm going to say that again. I'm with Mike Giancola, and Mike is an old university buddy of mine, a surf buddy. We used to go surf blacks together in our UCSD days, and we lost touch for many years and then reconnected when I was starting to run the online VysionQuest courses, and he signed up for one of those courses about 4 years ago. Is that right? And so we've reconnected, and then he's volunteered to do this interview as kind of a case study for VysionQuest and share his thoughts and what changed in his life, what happened. So yeah, I'm really glad that you took the time out to sit down and talk with us today, Michael. How are you?
Rick, doing really well. It's wonderful to be with you.
So we were chatting right before I hit record, and you had a realization. So one of the things that I asked you to do before we reconnect is read through your VysionQuest workbook. So what was the realization or that kind of viewpoint that stuck with you that you realized after checking out your workbook?
Yeah, so much there, and heartening to know that a lot of the values that I could write about, things that were really dear to me, are just still staying in my life, and just front and center about presence with breath, thinking about like this idea of breathe until breathed, and being able to be centered in my body at any moment, having that power, being an incredible person with a purpose, like with a purpose in his life. So like there's something about the affirmations of having a purpose in my vision statement that's just so important to me. And then what came forward from that was something you said on a call, I think, to me and one of the other people on the call, who are with kids that are just at an age where you can't just kind of go like, okay, they're on their own, they're doing their own thing. They're still at kind of that age where that's a part of, I don't know if it's like a project, if it's a calling, whatever I would call parenthood, but like that part of the Vision Quest for me was not just about.
I'm gonna pause you for 1 second. Speaking about parenthood, yeah. my internet looks like it's going slow, and my daughter might be on the internet. Hold on 1 second.
Jaya, okay, yeah.
Jaya, are you guys online? No. Okay, the internet's going slow. I was just checking. Okay. Thanks. Okay. My daughter and her friend were making cinnamon scrolls this morning, and they're here. I thought maybe they were online, so it's slowing down. But anyway, I just wanted to cover that base. Okay, so continue. Parenthood.
Yeah, and that slowing down and being there for my wife and life partner Ro, being there for my kids is a part of this. There's one thing that I think the Vision Quest, like I can almost hear you saying, is like, what do I want to do with the precious time that I have? What are the things that I find myself most prioritizing, because my time is so precious for the pursuits that I want to live, while I get to be here in connection with, with community, with my work, with my family, with just, experiences on this FYCKIT, this bucket list, where it's like this is what I say I'd love to do in the time that I have here. So and so like a recentering of like parenthood is one of those things that come right to the fore. So
yeah, that's it's such a good point that I often bring up, especially with people who have kids. Maybe it's only with people who have kids who are doing this process. And it's like one of my attitudes is that I would rather my business success come slower, because I'm taking some of my time every day and doing fun things with my kids, and going to the beach and body surfing, or whatever it is, just spending time with them. And I've proven that in my life that I'd rather it grow more slowly, but have that connection with my kids. And I think that's probably a message that a lot of the people who are attracted to this work, they're achievers. they're action takers, they're driven, and so their default is more leaning towards, I'm going to say no to my family or even my own health and well-being because I'm attacking my work and my financial goals, things like that. So sometimes we just need that reminder of like, man, our kids, they're only kids for a short time, and then like my son's 11. In 5-6 years, he's not gonna want to be hanging out with me probably, but right now he does, and my daughter does. So yeah, when they're gone, then I can be workaholic and smash it out if that's what I want there. So yeah. So
Go ahead.
No, go on.
I want to say one other thing too that comes to me, Rick, in this time, like you were talking about, it's okay to go slower if it's in the name of having this time with, your two lovely kids. This is years ago, but my oldest said to me, just hanging out, and I think this is really apropos to the Vision Quest, in a roundabout way. My oldest said to me, she's 13 now. She was maybe six or so. She said, how come you don't get to know when you die? And I thought it was such a profound question. And I looked at her and I said, baby, that's a great question. And we don't. Like, we got to love each other every day. And we got to love what we do every day, because we don't get to know. And so it was, just something that, like, sort of a wisdom from the mouth of babes moment. Like, I love that and like, in a way, I felt that there was so much that you asked our group to reflect on. So many sort of influences in our lives, things we've done to that point, but all at the service of, like, with however much precious time you have left, what do you dream to do? Like, what's the thing that you're just going like, yeah, this is, potentially what I would do with however much time I have left. So I just love Lily's question because, like, we don't know. And I think even one of the exercises early in the Vision Quest was about, like, if you only had, I believe it was like a year.
6 months.
6 months. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Do you remember what the strongest reason that you signed up for the Vision Quest was? Like, what was going on in your life and what compelled you to want to do it?
Yeah. I was starting two things. Starting a business on my own as an independent licensed psychotherapist in California. So just, like, kind of going off on my own in private practice. And also at that point in 2017, I would have been in my 20th year of relationship and 15th year of marriage with my wife, Rocio. So I think it's Esther Perel, who wrote Mating in Captivity, and some other writing. She wrote People Are Married Many Times, even in the same marriage. So I think there was also a bit of, like, just going like, yeah, like, we're good, but good, I'm not settling for good. Like, what are the things that need to happen in this relationship so that we don't just look back and go, yeah, like, that was good. We survived that marriage. Like, just doing more than survive marriage would. So I think it was my relationship, and then also starting a business.
Yeah. And then and so it's really cool to hear that because there's always the balance of your kind of professional and contribution purpose, and then your purpose in your personal life. And people usually sign up for one more than the other, like they're called for one, even though what they walk away with might be results in the other area of their life. But it sounds like you had a kind of you could see the value in getting clear on both your personal and your professional life. So if we look at your professional life, can you tell me what you do, and then also what are the things that have happened in your professional life, the good things that you feel are related to the clarity and the work that you put in during the Vision Quest process?
My work is working with men who are in some kind of struggle about their sexuality or their eroticism, meaning it might be guys who have a relationship with sexual imagery, aka porn. It might be guys who have been in a relationship or a marriage and have broken the agreements in that marriage or been unfaithful to the agreements in that marriage. Largely, men contact me when they're at a point of losing a relationship, marriage, job, or all of them. And they're sort of at a moment of like, okay, there's some consequences to what I've been doing. How do I want to think about the man that I've been to this point in my life? And what are some of the ways that I'm thinking about masculinity and manhood going forward if what's happening is not working and is, needing some kind of change? And it's an honor to do that work with men because at that point, when they've taken a step forward to want to talk to someone like me and ultimately do group work with other men, it's got some stories. They've got some stories of both like, what's gone wrong to lead them to here, but also some stories of like hopes and dreams, as well as stories of like who they know they'd like to be as men. So having a profession where I just get to be in contact with men about, it's a vision quest of sorts. It's more in a sense of sort of masculinity and sexuality, but it's also like, literally in sort of the plans that I have them write, similarly that you had me write, I'm asking them about their vision of sexual health and to really construct that. I'm not dictating that to men. We're asking them questions about their lives and getting them through that. So it's an honor to do that work. And I think from the Vision Quest, I realized that I was spending quite a bit of time on a lot of the bureaucracy and a lot of the marketing. So just figuring out how to get those processes to the point where they weren't taking up so much time and that I could be focused on more time with clients, doing things that I most enjoy doing and get energy from. And I think there was like an 80-20 exercise, like minimizing the things that were taking away the life energy and the vitality that it's brought to me by the work that I love, minimizing those things or eliminating them, completely. So like I can remember I was lucky enough to have your sister in our Vision Quest group, Julie, and like I mentioned one thing I was doing, and she didn't even ask me. She was just like, source that out. Like you do not need to be doing that. So just having that support from another professional to kind of go like, yeah, that's you absolutely, that's something someone else can do that's not maximizing the skills you have.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is the most fulfilling kinds of moments or interactions that you have through your work?
When people can come to a level of vulnerability about, when men can come to a level of vulnerability about desire and saying like, there are things that I enjoy. There are things that I really enjoy, because generally by the time someone's gotten to me, they've had all sorts of discoveries, not of the positive sort. And there are all sorts of fingers pointed at them about like, you've done this and you're that because of it. And for men to just be able to say like, as a human being, there are certain things that I really, really enjoy, and be able to understand that that's okay, as long as what we do is in the context of some agreements we make with the people we love and with the communities that we're in, and that it's really okay to release shame and embrace pleasure as human beings on the planet. So there's something about that when men can get there in these dialogues, and I'm not just seen as their like gatekeeper, accountability person, and whatever it is, like I'm happy to be all those things. But when they're able to transcend that and also see me as a conversational partner to go like, what is it that you enjoy, either on a sexual level or just on a life level, and how do you affirm that in ways that don't do any harm or transgress? Like it's a cool moment, because I think men then go from like, oh wow, like I'm able to enjoy something without actually doing harm or breaking an agreement. And that's just like it's about as satisfying as when I'm in my own life and I'm just sort of out having some enjoyment with family or friends or doing recreation. I know it's work, I acknowledge that it's work, but when I in my mind, when I'm seeing another get to the point where they've understood accountability, reconciled shame, and they're back to wanting a certain kind of pleasure for themselves in their lives, I feel like my work is having them on the right track.
Mm-hmm. That sounds huge. Sounds like it's showing people there's a path forward that works for them and works for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
cool. And
I
it,
should say, like, I feel like you've been a teacher in that too, like watching you work. Like, there's something about watching you work in your curiosity, watching your work in your respectfulness, like knowing that there's something that you wanted for me and for every person in our group. And yet there was an agenda. It wasn't like, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, but it was clear that you had a loving energy of wanting everyone to value their lives, value themselves, their time, and know that they were really special, but then also leaving it to us. And I don't think that's easy to do. So like, there's a way that, like, I want to also say thank you, because part of my skills as a professional were actually just by participating and watching you work, which was rad. So I want to say thanks.
Thanks. That's great to hear. I'll tell you one of my secrets. This came out in one of the VysionQuest retreats. You know, because I'm all about purpose and helping people understand their purpose so they can live their purpose, because that's going to be the most fulfilling, satisfying, joyful thing that you can do, and it's really a way of being that each person has. It's not a thing that you do. That's more like a dream or a mission or a goal. Your purpose is a way of being that you have. And we did this. I've told this story a few times, but we at one of the lunches at a retreat, I like to ask questions that are like intentional questions. So it's not just, like idle chit chat about politics or whatever. Like, we're really using that time, because our time together on retreats is so precious. That week flies by. So we're sitting there at lunch, and sometimes I leave it to the participants to ask questions. And this one woman, Alicia, asked, if you could have a superpower, what would it be? And I'm like, that question annoys me, because at the time I had like little kids, and my son would always ask me that question. I never knew what to say. Like, I don't know, I'm just not into like that. I like to visualize, but like the fantasy stuff doesn't really like land with me. So anyway, we go through that. Everyone says something, and then I get this idea, and I go, if you could have a spiritual superpower, what would it be? And everyone kind of sat back and was like, what does that even mean? And then one by one, we went around the table and everyone shared something. And essentially, everyone shared the same thing. Everyone said some version of, I would take away people's suffering, and I would help them know who they are and how powerful they are and be themselves. Some version of that. And it was like this total light bulb moment for me of that our purpose, we all have the same purpose, which is to help people and relieve their suffering and wake them up to their power and who they are. And everyone has some unique flavor, like unique energy that you do it. And so like when I see you've kind of tapped into that unique energy and flavor and the method of how you do it through your work. And you're so fortunate to have that vehicle, and already have been like kind of tuned into your spirit enough while you were going through school and deciding what you were going to do with your life. Because a lot of people, they just chose a profession based on money or security or prestige or whatever. They weren't connected to that calling inside them. So so that's like, it's so cool to hear like you are taking people on a kind of a vision quest, helping them discover who they are, take away their suffering, and find a path forward. And yeah, it's just so like delightful to hear that you've found your path to doing that.
Rick, I know this is supposed to be an interview of me and my time, but could I ask you a question about that story?
Sure.
Because one thing I was imagining was at a certain point you had to like put aside your judgment or disdain of the question and go like, I want to do something with this question, because it sounds like at the time it was like, I've heard this question, and it wasn't one that you cared for particularly, I think you said. And
Yeah.
I'm curious in that moment what you chose to do, to put aside whatever your relationship was to the superpower question, and then come up with the question, everyone, what's your spiritual superpower?
Yeah. Um, I think, well, the first thing that comes to mind is to, when I lead groups, I try to do it as humanly as I can, and not like, oh yeah, I've got everything figured out, everything's perfect in my life, like, oh, my mind, my emotion, everything's perfect. I don't do it like that. Like I'll when I start a retreat, I've started it saying very ridiculous things about, like, a bad mushroom trip I had a couple days ago. So if I seem a little weird, just these
Just let you know.
icebreakers, these icebreakers that just like shatter, because everyone shows up and they're kind of nervous, and I'm nervous. I don't it takes me a couple days to feel relaxed and get to know people, and that, so I just try to shatter the ice by being as human as I can. So in a situation like that, I like to, and another part of it is that, like, I make a space that you guys fill. You guys step into this space. So, it's not about me, like you said, putting my ideas onto you, or like also what you do with your clients. You're not telling them what to believe. You're not telling them, you know, exactly what the solution is. Like, they've got to find it. So I'm making a space that you guys fill, and um, and sometimes the first thing that comes out with how someone is filling the space is whatever. It's confronting for me, or I'm in over my head, or whatever it is. But I just, it's just like riding a wave. You just kind of keep going and see where it's taking you. And then yeah, I'm not sure, that the other question just kind of popped into my mind. So, um, and I've so many times, what's happening with a group, even if in the moment it seems like it's clunky, or it's not flowing, or nothing, it seems like nothing is happening. Always, it's exactly what should be happening. And it might not be until, 5 minutes down the track, or 2 days later, that you see the seeds that were planted like start to bear fruit, and you just go, all right, everything really is happening perfectly.
I just want to add on to your, wave metaphor, which I guess is not such a metaphor. You're a surfer and you do activities in the water, part of the Vision Quest, in the in-person retreats, especially. And I just want to add on to that because I was doing some work in my kids' room building a bed last night. In the background, I wanted to put a soundtrack on for just to have something in the background to let pass the time, like some music. And so I took the movie. It's maybe about 10 or 15 years old, called Broke Down Melody. And there's a Jerry Lopez quote in there that I had forgotten that Jerry Lopez says in this movie. It says, "The most important gift surfing has given to me is remembering that the present moment is the most important moment." And so there's something about that, like how you're talking about, like just showing up and being right here, even if that's like shattering some ice. But it's like right now, we're all here right now. What will we do with this precious moment? So anyway, like there's a lot that Jerry Lopez says that I think is pretty wise. So I like that quote.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything, uh, any changes in your personal life that you feel were related to the clarity that you got at the Vision Quest?
Hmm. Um, if there's one main change, I have my bucket list here.
By the
Um,
way, for people who are listening, that the bucket list is a nickname for the 5-year bucket list.
Thank you. Sorry, people are just gonna think that I'm this foul-mouthed random guy that Rick invited on. Like he keeps swearing. Sorry.
Well,
Yeah.
he's in the right profession. All he talks about is fucking. So
So it's perfect. Yes, FYCKIT, as in 5-year.
yeah,
FYCKIT
yeah.
was, and it's in the center of. I made kind of like this mosaic of different like bubbles that I wanted to emphasize. Love for Rocio, attending to relationship before any other distractions, um, fulfilling and connecting. So, has it been a change? I think it's more of a like an ongoing in any relationship, an ongoing of like, I think the change is being sensitive to like, how's this going? Like, hey, life partner, how's this going? Because like humans that get busy, I'm gonna fall out of it. So like I imagine you're going to get some stories in these interviews where people like develop businesses that became multi-billion-dollar businesses, or like did some things that were absolutely revolutionary. I won't say this was, but what I will say is that like there's a way to attending to a relationship that I hope to be lifelong, very sincere and very loving, that has Rocio going like, you're here. You're here in like the really awesome times, and you're also here in the times when, you know, things are hard, and one of us is gone to a place where we're not happy with each other, and just showing up. So I think that let me take a look. My my work is my work can be stressful, but not physically. It's a lot of sitting and writing and listening and kind of doing what we're doing right now. But I'm in your shoes, and I have to be listening closely and asking people some questions that are hopefully giving them a hand. And I don't move a lot in that work. So um, there's something about making sure to surf or swim at least a couple times every week, and to meditate several times a week. Um, and Rick, there's a way that I want to go like, that's more than just physical health. Like I know at a Western like allopathic medical appointment, the doctor will be like, how many hours a week you're getting of exercise? And like, great question, right? Like I think it's really important exercise, but it's more than that. So I think it's also something in the Vision Quest that's going like, this is more than just checking a box. This is actually about like, how is any sort of physical pursuit going to be related to my precious time, and a nurturing of a spirit that's just like, I'm going out in the world with this purpose of purposefulness of who I am. And so I mean, this might be an example. Rick, I appreciate this because you know me, I can tell stories. So thanks for this time. Like last night at Black's, I hadn't been down at Black's for a while just because of time. And, Rose said like, yeah, just go. Like, she took the girls to a birthday party. And right around sunset, when people were starting to peel out of the water, it was an average day, below average day for Blacks, but good enough to surf. And these two guys were there that were left in the lineup, and I noticed them speaking Spanish, and that's like a beloved second language for me that I've learned over the years in San Diego. And I was literally in my kind of like, I'm on my own, I'm just here, like, just keep surfing. And then I was like, no, part of my purpose in the world is actually connecting with people. And often my friends say, like, you do a really good job at connecting. And it's part of your energy when it's on, is like really making connections with people. And I just asked them, where are you guys from? And they were from Madrid. They were here doing like, I can get into their story, but um, and we're really excited to be at Black's at a moment when the sun had gone down and the colors were just exploding, and that I was this random guy speaking them in their language, and that we exchanged maybe like 4 or 5 minutes of conversation, but like I made a decision to just go and connect, because that's part of my purpose on the planet, is to be a connector of people, and not get into this sort of mindset of like, oh, I've just got to be this rugged guy on his own surfing and like not interact, or just be cool or just be tough or something like that. Like, no, like my part of my beauty as a person, in realizing my life, is being present with people, and when the moment's possible and when there's an opening to do so, like there was in the water, just saying hello and smiling. So anyway, like, does that make me like a better dad, a better husband, or a better business owner? Ostensibly, no. But in terms of keeping the energy moving of ways that I am in the world, of enjoying connecting and honoring myself as a connector, it does. And those are like just choices to make. So anyway, that's just one small example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, small, but it's huge. Our lives, all they are is this simple little moment that keeps on rolling forward.
Yeah.
All the little tiny choices we make in the moment, what we listen to as our guidance. Very nice, very nice. I miss Blacks, man. It's been a long time since I've surfed there, but yeah. Mike,
What do you miss the most?
well, in terms of Blacks,
Uh-huh.
Just good waves. Good waves. Yeah, powerful peaks. Yeah, where I live now, the waves are pretty mediocre where I live. The temperature's right. It's like tropical right now, but it's pretty small.
It's chilly here, but I'll just say, Rick, I love one thing about you, your humility, because it was a legendary winter, the winter of 1994. It was one of the better winters in San Diego or in California, and it was a winter of our first year in university. And I'll never forget, like, as no matter how big it got, you would want to go out. But I once asked you, like, what do you like? Like, what kind of waves do you like? And I was expecting you to say, like, as big as it comes, like, like, just I'll take on anything. But you didn't. You were just like, my favorite wave is about this big and perfect shape, And you said it with such kind of level energy, like, no, I love waves this big. And I just, when they're in just, kind of square, not round, and beautiful. And it wasn't the answer I was expecting, because you had been out that winter and like some waves that were bigger than I want to surf in. Yeah, they were like, it was meaty that winter. So anyway, I'll never forget that answer.
That's fun. That's fun. I don't know if I'm still like that. I don't get in larger waves very much these days, but I'm curious. I'm curious if I'd see them now and be like, that looks fun, or be like, I'll go to Scripps. I don't know.
Yeah, go down the block.
Yeah. Let me ask you one more question, Mike. What kind of person do you think the VysionQuest is good for, and what would you tell that person if they were on the fence about signing up?
The VysionQuest is good for any person that has not even a lot, but just some time, because it takes some time. Like, if it's someone that has no time, I would say, like, wait till a time when you have some time to put aside time first thing in the morning to do some breathing, and then put aside time either right after that or some other time in your day to get into some exercises that, like, I feel a little bit of emotion welling up, that let you connect to the most precious things in your life, the most precious people in your life, some of those precious experiences that you've had, some of the experiences that you've had that maybe you don't like so much that you're trying to change, and then do some honest writing and then some honest reflecting with teammates. Like, I did it virtually, but either virtually or in person with some teammates that are like, I have your back, not just you, but other people. Like, specifically, I'm remembering Julie and Jeremy, but there were others. Like, where, like, I felt like at every point they had my back in this. And there's something about a little crew that has your back that, as humans, like, I think we do things in groups and in sometimes in smaller groups, that people give us the power to move mountains that were otherwise hard to move ourselves. And I think the VysionQuest really does that. It creates like this set of activities, but if I was just doing it on my own, or if I was just doing it with you as a consultant, it wouldn't be the same as having like a small community where people are just like, great, I see you and I see what your purpose is and some of where you're trying to take this. So I would say any person that's looking for, some activity and some community to allow themselves to be inspired and to feel, I mean, this is a tricky thing to say, but like, to feel their heart. Like, when you just feel like something come over your body and go like, oh, like this is how I want to feel about purpose. This is how I want to feel about direction. I would just encourage them. And it's funny, like, I'm sure you get this a lot of these videos, but I would want them to reach out to me, like, and just like drop me a line, or send me a text, and I'll say, like, I'll tell you another story, because I think there's probably 100 stories that we're not going to get to on this hour that, like, have to do with the kind of openness to the present, openness to the things that we love, putting aside the things that don't sort of define our lives or don't uphold our highest intentions, that I feel like the VysionQuest is lovely for and grateful for.
Well said. Thank you. It's really fun to ask people what they would tell someone, either to prepare for it or someone who's on the fence, and it just comes every time. The message just comes from the heart, and it could be the most effective thing for people to hear. rather than me rambling on and saying, what they're going to get or whatever. It's just to hear someone who's done it, because it's like the words don't even matter. It's just the feeling that comes out of you. That's like, something special happens. Yeah.
And I'm also grateful too, Rick, for this, like the way that you've stayed in touch with alums, like because you stay in touch. My wife did this. She loved doing the course and talks about it to people. I love dusting off the sketch pad that I use to write all of this stuff down in, and just go like, oh, like there's a snapshot of me for things that I don't often make time because I don't journal as much as I should. And like a moment in my life where I really sat down and just got down to it and writing some really important things down to me. So that too.
Yeah. There's been a couple of improvements since you did the course. One is there's a workbook that you print out now, which is nice. And then when we do the work, it takes 1 hour every morning from 5:30 to 6:30 a.m. And so you're right, it takes some time, it takes some discipline and dedication. But what I found, it's actually the easiest way to do it when you just know you're going to roll out of bed, get a glass of water, brush your teeth, and then just sit down, listen to the meditative audio lesson, do the writing exercise. That's where you're going to be for the first hour every morning. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to try to fit it into your day. And you just hear these messages coming through you before you've kickstarted your personality and you're answering messages and you said hi to people and everything. That's just like the purest, cleanest, clearest time to get those messages.
I love what you're saying, like this term kickstarting your personality, like that space that we would give ourselves before we have to occupy other roles in our life. So I hadn't heard that said before, and it's profound. Like, what would I want to do with the time before I have to show up in the world as a parent, as a therapist, as however I need to show up that day, as a caretaker to elders, whatever, as an executive, who knows? But like, like that time, for me, there's nothing like that time. So I would say to the person that's on the fence, like, are you ready for some of that time that literally is like heart and mind opening and blowing? Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks so much, Mike. I really appreciate your time, and it's great to reconnect here. Is there anything else you want to say before we sign off?
It's all being said with my hands right now. So I'm just sending that to you because I know we're about halfway around the world, and I don't know, maybe I'll end with some humor. When we were first getting started in the process, I think I said to you, Rick, there's this thing called Zoom, and I like it better than the platform that you're on now. And like, it was just in a moment when like this was all so new. It was a little while ago. And like, I just think about where we've been, and it both makes me laugh, but it also makes me shed a tear because I want to get back to like just being able to run up to people and hug them and say like, hey, like, it's nice to be close again. And I'll still do that now with a mask, but like that this is now sort of what's come to pass since we were doing it as kind of sort of pioneers in that time. Like, it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet. Like, I'm glad we can do this from halfway around the world, and I wouldn't miss it. And at the same time, like, it has me remembering like then to move away from electronics and be with, beating hearts and breath and music and dance and joy in some ways that don't have to be virtual. So like kind of maybe a relationship between like, for the people that do the course online, like doing the online, to have those sort of special moments with yourself, and then having that be like, okay, that was my online time. Now, where do I want to go with that?
Yeah. I'm glad that's funny. That's funny that you probably introduced me to Zoom.
You were on something else that I can't remember what it was. And I was like, Rick, this is good, but I've been on this consultation group with other therapists, and I like this thing. It's called Zoom, and I was pretty new to it too. I'd only been using it for 5 or 6 months. So anyway, like,
yeah. It could have been Skype that we were using, which ironically is what we're using right now because it records better when we're doing an interview. But yeah. Cool. Well, thanks so much, Mike. Look forward to checking in again with you soon and hearing what else happens. Thanks for spreading the love, the VysionQuest love. I appreciate it.
You well, Rick. Great seeing you. Best to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Take care, brother.
Bye-bye. Be well, Rick. Bye-bye.